I just used your card for snacks. That's what my niece, my 18-year-old unemployed future menace to society, said to me while curled up on my couch in leggings and a hoodie, scrolling TikTok like she was a Kardashian on vacation. By morning, poof, $6, 300 gone. Almost all the money I had left evaporated on absolute nonsense. Louis Vuitton. Czar. Sneakers that cost more than my rent in college. High-end hair tools. Skincare brands that probably promised her the fountain of youth. And, my personal favorite, a wellness retreat deposit. I actually laughed when I saw that one. Not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd I had to laugh, otherwise I'd be crying into my pillow. That money? Supposed to last me through the month. Instead, it was funding her luxury mall crawl. Meanwhile, I was barely keeping things afloat, stretching one paycheck to support 5 people. Myself, my daughter, my freeloading sister, her husband, and this credit card bandit of a niece. Earlier that night, I dragged myself home from back-to-back meetings, starving, exhausted, emails piling up. I asked her casually, "So, how was your day?" She barely looked up. "All fine. I just used your card for some snacks, and a few other things. It was saved in the Amazon account." I froze mid-step. "Wait, what do you mean used my card?" She actually shrugged, like she was admitting to borrowing a pen. "It's not a big deal. Just snacks." Snacks. Right. Snacks that apparently come in Louis Vuitton packaging and require a down payment for a spa retreat. I didn't argue. Didn't scream. I just walked to my room, opened my laptop, and the moment I saw the balance, I swear my lungs forgot how to function. My chest tightened like an elephant was sitting on me. That card wasn't even for them. It was my emergency card. Groceries? Sure. Gas? Fine. School supplies for my kid? Okay. But this? This was a full-on financial mugging in yoga pants. They'd been living with me for 6 months. It was only supposed to be 2 weeks. Just until we figure things out, my sister had said. Right. Translation, we'll figure out how to make you pay for our lifestyle. Her husband? Laid off. My sister? Hadn't worked in years. Rent too high. Credit trashed. And me, the idiot, thought I was helping. I let them move in. Fed them. Paid for them. Even shoved my daughter into my room so their princess could have her own space. What did I get? A $6,300 surprise bill and an 18-year-old acting like I was her personal ATM. At midnight, I knocked on their door. My sister opened it, hair a mess, face annoyed like I was interrupting her beauty sleep. I told her, "Your daughter spent over $6 grand on my card." She blinked at me. And then, brace yourself, she actually said, "Kids will be kids." That's when something in me snapped. Not dramatically. Quietly. Like a glass breaking in the back of your mind. I said nothing. Walked back to my room, shut the door, sat in silence. At 1:17 a.m. I became Abigail, destroyer of sub-accounts. Avenger of auto-logins. Scourge of freeloaders everywhere. I froze every card they had ever touched. Sub-accounts? Gone. Automatic logins? Nope. Retailers? Contacted. Pending purchases? Cancelled. One of the charges had already shipped, but I knew the return window was 14 days. I had time. By 6 a.m. I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard it. A scream. Not a yell, an exorcist-level scream. It came from the guest room. 10 minutes later my phone rang. It was my sister's husband. First words out of his mouth weren't "good morning," or "thanks for letting us mooch rent-free for half a year." No. It was, "Why the hell aren't our cards working? Why are the apps locked? Why won't Uber Eats go through?" He sounded like a man reporting a national emergency. I put him on speaker, let him rant for a solid 3 minutes while I stirred sugar into my coffee. Then I hung up. Didn't feel bad. Didn't feel guilty. I actually felt awake. Caffeinated by chaos. Because this wasn't an accident. This was what happens when you train people to believe your boundaries are more of a suggestion than a rule. They crossed the line, and now they were going to learn the sequel. Abigail has had enough. By sunrise, the house had gone from quiet tension to full-blown soap opera. My sister stormed around slamming cabinets like she was auditioning for a telenovela. Every 5 minutes. How could Abigail do this to us? Her husband was outside chain vaping on the porch on speakerphone, telling someone how I humiliated his family. Sir, your family humiliated itself with a Louis Vuitton checkout cart. And the star of the show, my niece, the girl who treated my bank account like her personal trust fund, was curled up on the couch, sobbing into her iPhone like it was a dying relative. She scrolled through refund notifications for handbags and essential items. Essential. Right. I guess my rent money was essential to her skincare routine. Meanwhile me? I sat at the kitchen table sipping my coffee like it was the last tether holding me to earth. I didn't move. Didn't speak. Just let the silence do the work. Around noon, my sister finally broke the standoff. She marched in and said, "We need to have a grown-up conversation as a family." "Great," I said, "you first? Let's hear the grown-up part." We sat in the living room. Them on one side, me on the other. Negotiation table vibes. My sister led with, "We feel like your reaction was a bit extreme." Extreme. Right. Spending $6,000 on handbags and serums? Totally rational. Freezing the cards? Unhinged. Her husband jumped in, red in the face. "You made us feel unwelcome. Helpless. You damaged the trust between us." I smiled. "Oh, you mean the trust one had when I gave you a roof over your head and food you didn't pay for? That trust." Then my niece, the Gucci intern who never applied, chimed in. "I've just been under a lot of pressure. At my age, stability is essential for my growth. Shopping helps me feel in control." I blinked at her. "Stability? Sweetheart, you're living rent-free, unemployed, eating food I bought, on a couch I paid for, under a roof I maintain. If you need stability, try holding a job application longer than 10 seconds. They weren't ashamed. They were angry at me. Like I was the villain in their fairy tale. I let them finish the monologue before I finally spoke. "I have less than $300 to my name right now. I'm behind on 2 utility bills. I've given up every comfort so you wouldn't have to sleep in your car. My daughter gave up her room, her peace, her routines. And now you want to talk to me about stability?" Silence. Real heavy silence. My sister started to cry. Her husband looked at the floor like maybe it had answers. My niece just stood up and walked off without a word, probably to Google, "Can you sue your aunt for ruining your life?" The next morning I left early. Didn't have a plan, just needed out. Grabbed a gas station coffee and parked at a grocery store, watching people shop like it was a normal Tuesday. I sat there for over an hour just breathing. When I came back, there was an envelope on the counter. My name scribbled on the front like a ransom note. Inside, a single sheet of paper. 7 words. "We're sorry. We'll fix it." No money. No plan. No next steps. Just 7 words on a piece of paper. That's when it really sank in. They weren't going to fix anything, because in their heads they hadn't broken anything. And that meant if anything was going to change, it had to be me. The envelope with the apology note sat on the counter for 2 full days before I even touched it again. I read it once, rolled my eyes so hard I swear I saw my brain, and left it there. "We're sorry. We'll fix it." That's all it said. No explanation, no money, no plan, just a vague promise like Hallmark card therapy was going to refill my bank account. They tiptoed around me after that like they thought they were starring in Polite Family, the redemption arc, Quiet Mornings. Dishes magically done. Shoes neatly lined up by the door. Cute, right? Except it all felt hollow. Not real consideration, just them waiting for the storm to pass like I was a seasonal thunderstorm, not the landlady of their free ride. But this time was different. I was watching. Really watching. My niece? Still waking up at 10 a.m. every day, sprawled on the couch like it was her throne, scrolling non-stop. Still no job, still no attempt at getting one. One afternoon she actually asked me, "Can you help me rebuild my Amazon cart? Since everything got refunded?" I literally had to walk away before I said something that would have burned the paint off the walls. My sister? Trying her best to cosplay productive. She'd casually mention, "Oh, I sent some applications today." Cool. Where? To whom? No clue. She was really just binge-watching Friends reruns like it was her side hustle. And her husband? Let's just say he was job hunting in the garage, which apparently involves chain vaping and watching YouTube videos about fixing motorcycles he doesn't own. Inspirational. It was surreal. Like I was the only one who could see the burning wreckage around us while they were living in The Sims on free play mode. So one night after work, I sat at the dining table and made a plan. A real plan. Printed out job listings from 3 local sites. Entry-level, nothing wild, just enough to get their feet in the door and, contribute to the household they'd colonized. I even sorted them by skill level, wrote notes, mapped bus routes. Honestly, I should have charged a consulting fee. The next day I called a house meeting. Told them, 15 minutes. That's all I need. They sat down looking more annoyed than curious, like I'd interrupted their busy schedules of loafing and scrolling. I started with diplomacy. "Listen, I'm not here to punish anyone. I know things have been hard. I understand the pressure you're under. But I can't keep carrying 5 people on one salary." I laid out the job opportunities. These are all things you can apply for this week. If you take action now, we can move forward together. My sister nodded, but it was the kind of nod you do when someone's explaining cryptocurrency and you stopped listening 10 minutes ago. Her husband leaned back on the couch like a mob boss. We appreciate the effort. But it's not that simple. There are other factors you're not considering. Oh really? I said. Like what? Silence. He stared at the ceiling fan like it had the answers. Spoiler, it didn't. Then came the grand finale. My niece rolled her eyes so hard I thought she'd sprain something. She picked up the job listings, gave them a 2-second glance, then stood up and dropped them in the trash. I'm not going to work at some fast food place like I'm 16, she said. I'm not desperate. I turned to my sister. Waited. This was her moment. A chance to say, hey, actually you are desperate. You just blew through your aunt's savings. But nope. Nothing. Just blank face. No one corrected her. No one apologized. No one pulled her aside later. Apparently, trashing actual lifelines was just normal in their household. I went to bed without saying another word. By that night, lying in the dark, I had the kind of epiphany people usually have after 3 glasses of wine and a bad breakup. I realized the version of me from the last 6 months, the one who gave, sacrificed, stretched herself thin like some budget brand yoga mat, had to go. She wasn't just being drained of money anymore. Oh no, they were chiseling off actual pieces of me like I was an all-you-can-take buffet of dignity. And I had one move left. One big, dramatic, movie-ending kind of move. I barely slept. Not because I was emotional, but because I was cataloging in my head all the ways this house had flipped upside down. It wasn't just money, it was the disrespect, the entitlement, the way they acted like I was the villain for daring to suggest they function as self-sufficient adults. My niece's voice kept looping in my head like an annoying TikTok sound. I'm not desperate. Yes, sweetheart, you're not desperate, you're delusional. After dumping my carefully printed job listings into the trash like they were takeout menus, by morning I knew exactly what I had to do. Step 1. Call into work. Hi, I need a personal day. Translation: I need to clean up a dumpster fire my family set with my debit card. Step 2. Gather receipts. Because guess what? Return windows close, but Abigail's patience? Already expired. Her room looked like a trophy case for bad financial decisions. Handbags stacked like Jenga pieces, Sephora bags breeding in the corner, Nike boxes she hadn't even cracked open. The smell of entitlement was so thick I almost needed a mask. I didn't ask. I didn't knock. I just loaded everything into my trunk like the world's saddest Santa Claus. Meanwhile, she was in the backyard on FaceTime, laughing so hard I thought maybe she'd discovered joy for the first time. Then I heard it. She's still mad about the card thing. Cue more cackling. Like I was the punchline. Like I was the uptight idiot who didn't understand that accidentally draining someone's bank account was hilarious. So I drove straight to the boutique downtown. First stop, that $1,199 handbag. Are you the original purchaser? The clerk asked. I smiled and lied like my life depended on it. Absolutely. Refund processed. Ding, back in my account. Then Sephora, Nike, and some obscure online boutique that had a physical store across the city. By the end of the day, I'd racked up nearly $4,500 in glorious, beautiful refunds. My bank balance looked healthier than it had in weeks. I could have kissed the cashier at Sephora. I came home exhausted but calmer, sipping water like I'd just finished a marathon of common sense. That's when she stormed in. My niece, suddenly aware her shrine of consumerism had vanished. Where's my stuff? She shrieked. I didn't even flinch. Returned. Every last bit. It was never yours to begin with. She lost it. Not yelling, screaming. Full banshee mode. You're a thief. You're jealous. You're ruining my life. Oh honey. Ruining your life would involve me changing the Wi-Fi password. And then, plot twist, she picked up my coffee mug and launched it at the wall. Ceramic everywhere. Crash so loud my daughter sprinted out of her room like we'd been hit by an earthquake. Seconds later, my sister shuffled in, eyes wide, already on the defensive. What the hell is going on? My darling niece jabbed a finger at me. She stole from me. She violated my privacy. I'm calling the police. I locked eyes with her, calm as a saint, and said, go ahead. Silence. Instant. Like I just unplugged her battery pack. Then I turned, finally, to my sister. And the dam broke. Your daughter, I said, has turned into someone I don't even recognize. I let it rip. All this time, I said, voice steady but shaking inside, I tried everything. I fed you, housed you, protected you. And what do I get in return? Gaslighting, disrespect, and a financial crime scene where my savings used to be. My sister's eyes filled up like I'd just drowned her childhood teddy bear. I wasn't done. Not even close. If you're not going to parent your child, then congratulations, you've failed. Twice. Once as a mother and once as my sister. Her husband stood there in the doorway, arms crossed like a glorified coat rack. Silent. Not even fake sympathy. Just vaping air energy without the vape. And since apparently words don't land with you people, I went on, here's the deal. 14 days. That's it. 2 weeks to get out of my house. No more second chances, no more free rent, no more warnings. Figure it out like the rest of us grown-ups have to. I paused because the dramatic silence deserved to marinate. Then I pulled out the closer. But, I added sweetly, since I'm so generous, I even called a family friend who runs a restaurant. They've got 3 open positions, dishwasher, host, and server. He agreed to hire all 3 of you. Monday morning. Be there or be broke. My niece actually laughed. Not a nervous laugh. And, oh, that's hilarious, Aunt Abigail thinks we're peasants laugh. Wait, you're serious? She asked, eyebrows practically hitting her hairline. I leaned back in my chair. Dead serious. Welcome to the service industry. My sister? She looked horrified. Like I just asked her to donate a kidney instead of sling breadsticks. They both thought it was a joke. Spoiler, it wasn't. None of them answered me that night. Which honestly was fine. Silence is underrated. But the next morning, miracle of miracles, the husband, Mr. Useless himself, slouched into the kitchen. What time does the shift start? He muttered, like admitting defeat was physically painful. Did he say thank you? Of course not. But fear had finally done what logic and pleading couldn't. Monday morning the house felt unnatural. At 7 a.m., no one was scrolling TikTok with their sound on full blast. No FaceTime cackling. No bowls of Lucky Charms fossilizing on the counter. Just silence. Beautiful, healing silence. Then I heard the front door click shut. Peeking out the window, I actually saw him, the husband, getting into the car. No speech, no excuses, just gone. My faith in humanity flickered back to life for a hot second. About an hour later, my sister slunk into the kitchen like a raccoon caught in daylight. She poured herself coffee and mumbled, I guess I'll give the job a shot. I nodded. Didn't even blink. Inside, I wanted to laugh because my friend had already called me earlier. If they didn't show up on day 1, the offer was gone forever. They had no clue the guillotine was hanging right above their heads. By noon, the final boss, my niece, emerged from her cave. Not a word of greeting. No apology. Just stood by the microwave like she was waiting for divine intervention in the form of reheated leftovers. Then, finally, are the rest of my orders being returned too? I turned to her. Oh, you mean the sunglasses, the overpriced face serum, and the Bluetooth speaker? Yep. Return windows still open. They're going back. She muttered, this is humiliating. I grinned. Correct. We went to the mall together. Not because I wanted a bonding moment, please, I'd sooner hug a cactus, but because she was legally an adult and some returns required ID. I let her do the talking at the counters. Watched her face every single time the cashier asked, do you have the original payment method? And every single time she had to mumble, it was my aunt's card. Chef's kiss. Delicious. One by one her little luxuries vanished. Refunds hit my account like dopamine. By the end of the day I'd clawed back almost $6,000. Not everything. Some purchases were final sale, RIP Gucci belt. But enough. I handed her the stack of papers. Keep the receipts. I wasn't covering for her. If her nonsense shopping spree showed up again on my statement, that was between her and the credit card company. Back in the car, she sat with her arms crossed like I'd just canceled Christmas. You don't understand, she said. Shopping gives me control. It helps me feel less stressed. I raised an eyebrow. Sweetheart, do you think my stress is a Netflix subscription I can just turn off? You think I pay my electric bill by buying lip gloss? She huffed. It's not the same. Oh, you're right, I said. I haven't bought myself a pair of shoes in over a year because apparently, I'm funding a family-wide Gucci experiment. But sure, tell me more about how hard it is to survive without your Bluetooth speaker. She didn't answer. Just stared out the window like she was auditioning for a tragic indie film. That night, I shut myself in my room. For the first time in months, I let it all hit me, the exhaustion, the frustration, the deep, crushing disappointment. And under all of that, clarity. I had tried. God, had I tried. I gave them shelter, food, second, third, and fourth chances. I handed them jobs on a silver platter. I returned the stolen money. I stayed calm when I should have screamed. And what did they do? Shrugged, rolled their eyes, laughed in my face. Her father came home from his first shift and collapsed into bed like he just worked a 90-hour week instead of bussing tables for 6 hours. My sister followed soon after, muttering, "I don't think I can handle the pressure." Pressure? Please. Try juggling bills, a kid, and 3 freeloaders who think the Wi-Fi is a birthright. And my niece? She declared the restaurant not her vibe. "I'm going to find something more aligned with my personality," she announced, like she was some Silicon Valley CEO instead of a girl who just had a meltdown over returned sneakers. So I made one last decision. I typed up a letter. Short, to the point. 10 days left. Spare key deactivated. I even offered temporary storage. Generous, considering I fantasized about putting their things on the lawn with a free sign. In the morning, the letter was still sitting on the table. Untouched. Not a word from them. Typical. 10 days passed. On deadline morning, I woke up at 6 sharp, braced for fireworks. A screaming match, a guilt trip, maybe a soap opera monologue. Instead, silence. I went downstairs. The guest room was empty. Their stuff was gone. The only proof they'd ever existed in my house was a half-eaten box of cereal on the counter and a pair of cheap flip-flops by the door. That was it. After all the chaos, they ghosted me like a bad Tinder date. I didn't call. I didn't text. Why would I? I'd done more than enough. For 6 months, I lived their disaster like it was my own. I sacrificed money, time, my daughter's space, my sanity. And the whole time I thought, if I just give more, maybe they'll change. Spoiler, they didn't. People don't change because you make life easier for them. They change when they decide to. And they never did. The next few days? Bliss. Quietest my house had felt in half a year. My daughter and I cleaned out the guest room, turned it back into her music room. She didn't say much about them leaving, just smiled when she got her space back. That was all I needed. I checked my bank account. Just over $6,100. Not everything but close. Enough to breathe again. Then 5 days later my phone lit up. My sister. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was long. "We're staying with an old friend for now. My husband's trying to stick with the job." Insert dramatic sigh. My daughter's reevaluating her goals. Oh good. She's going to put "shoplifting my aunt's patients" on her LinkedIn. Then my sister ended with, "We know we messed up, but I hope you won't shut us out forever." I didn't respond. Because I am shutting them out. Not out of spite. Not out of revenge. But because I finally learned something I should have known a long time ago. I can't keep being the safety net for people who insist on cutting holes in it. From now on, my attention goes to the people who respect it. My daughter, my home, myself. No more rescuing people who sink every lifeboat I send. No more holding space for grown adults who treat kindness like a credit card. I was good. I was useful. I was the glue. And it broke me. That won't happen again. Love this story? Like, share, and subscribe for more epic audio adventures. Stay curious and keep listening.